Hello everyone, thank you for joining us in today's webinar. With me here today is Prasanna C, Product Deputy Director here at Epsilon. In this session, Prasanna will walk us through on how you can build a flexible foundation for your transformation with a multi-service port. In this session, he will also cover the current market landscape, some of the typical pain points customers face in their digital journey, and how customers can benefit from using a multi-service port. Without further ado, I'll now hand over the time to Prasanna. Prasanna, please.
Thank you everyone for joining this short webinar presentation. We hope this session is quite useful for you to cover what are the new offerings from Epsilon and how as a business you can benefit from flexible interconnect models with Epsilon. Everyone might have heard by now the immense growth in data that is exploding in every business and every industry and in every customer, right? Whether you are a consumer or you own a business yourself, you definitely come across more data being generated within your organization. So various research reports have forecasted numbers that are quite staggering. If you look at the number of simple, IP addresses or the IP networks being generated, that will exceed, the global population at least by 3 times. That's one forecast figure from Cisco. And if you look at the overall ICT spend from the worldwide, global ICT spend, digital transformation itself is more than $2.3 trillion by 2023, and that is a massive number. That shows exactly how much of an importance is digital transformation in an organization's growth in this current economic cycle. Most importantly, in many organizations, it has already become a cornerstone for their organization's revamp, IT overhaul, whatever it is. They definitely have a project that is some part touching definitely a transformation and how it improves their employees' productivity and in turn, the company's profitability and etc. etc. So the data in the world is growing by leaps and bounds, and that definitely impacts businesses both positively and negatively if you're not prepared for it. So this new world presents a lot of new challenges. As for customers, as for businesses who are running, operations, all over the world, multiple branch offices, or even, a small domestic operations, no matter how they are, restricted within a geography or dispersed on a global scale, they definitely need to be working with multiple vendors, and that is definitely time consuming for an organization to focus their precious time and effort. At the same time, applications are really driving the volumes and the data. They really become the pivotal of all these conversations. Everyone is connecting to their office applications or production finance applications. All of them are hosted in clouds, and all that's where all the traffic for an enterprise is flowing to on a daily basis, by the minute, by the second. And these new demands that the IT enterprises are generating are moving at an unprecedented speed. Some people say it's the speed of the cloud. In a way, it's the speed of how fast you are able to deploy resources within a cloud, which are mainly dictated by the major public cloud providers. At the same time, consumers or IT enterprises, they have a huge cost pressure on their organizations. The CIOs and the IT managers, they have a very strict KPI on how they are cutting down their cost, because the cloud has promised huge cost savings for the enterprises to move from an on-prem to a cloud. At the same time, if they are not able to meet their cost reduction KPIs, and of course, any digital transformation project will not be successful for that organization. So cost is an important factor for any organization to embark on this journey. At the same time, keeping an user experience in mind, are they able to consume the data and run the operations as smoothly as they would, or even better, with such new world challenges? And these are exactly the main talking points in today's industry. So how does this present as a challenge for a growing organization of any size? This exactly presents a new challenge of connecting and optimizing applications in this ever-changing, transforming market. Right? This is really the challenge that is present to the customer. Right? How do I handle my variety of applications that is growing at an unprecedented scale? I do not know where my demands are, and I do not know where my other partners are. My suppliers are changing locations and things like that. So how do we exactly manage this ever changing interconnect opportunity? The solution is you need to work with a provider, or you need to have a solution that is fluid, agile, at the same time flexible enough to bring you on to various applications, various destinations on a provider's network, at the same time being flexible, adaptable, as well as cost efficient. So this is a lot of things put into one small category, and this is exactly what we call our multi-service port offering. What we mean by that is a multi-service port gives you a gateway. It's a gateway into Epsilon's global fabric. Epsilon's global fabric, as you might know by now, it is providing an access to a variety of endpoints on our fabric. So we predominantly have started out with data centers on a global scale, and right now we have a lot of public cloud providers on our network, all the major clouds, a growing community of internet exchanges for remote peerings, and we have SD-WAN access locations, we have IP transit, we have the connectivity marketplace where you can find any provider, telecom provider on our network already pre-connected to us. And you also have legacy technologies that are still being used by emerging by customers in emerging markets. So this multi-service port allows a customer to interconnect with us, and they have an access into all of these endpoints on our network. In other words, the customer can use this port and he can spin off a virtual connect to any of these destinations. A virtual connect is nothing but a private, dedicated point-to-point Ethernet connection that brings the customer from his port to any of these virtual destinations on our network. So with this essentially is nothing but a single service catering to a variety of needs for a customer. So this is a simple schematic overview of what are all the possibilities for a customer when he interconnects with Epsilon's global fabric, right? So the first point to highlight here is that in terms of the multi-service, it being an Ethernet port, Epsilon offers 1G, 10G, and 100 gig ports. So the 100 gig port offering is a new thing for us, as well as in the market. We are one of the very first players to roll out 100 gig interfaces on a global scale, and the customers who have much higher capacity needs are also able to make use of this function and feature. And these ports can be purchased in any of Epsilon's point of locations. And from this port, a customer is able to spin a virtual connect or activate a virtual connect, and you can go to all of these endpoints you see on this diagram. It ranges from data centers to clouds to internet exchanges to even enterprise last mile locations. What we can do is we have the working relationship with local operators in every geography or every country, you name it. So we are able to extend the service all the way to an enterprise branch office, be it in a developed country or in an emerging market, wherever it is. We are also able to deploy an SD-WAN box or a socket that is also able to orchestrate all of this underlay technologies for the customer. So SD-WAN comes in as an overlay, and that is a nice feature to blend in with a global interconnect model. At the same time, at the bottom that you see is legacy technologies. So customers, let's say in emerging countries like Indonesia or in Southeast Asian countries, where or even in the Middle East, where SDH or Ethernet over SDH is still being widely used, those customers definitely have their needs to go to the clouds and the peering exchanges for internet traffic and all these things. These customers, when they work with Epsilon, they find Epsilon as the bridging player, right? So we act as a bridge in linking the legacy platforms of the customer in their respective geographies all the way, and we convert the traffic and we bring it over to the clouds and the internet exchanges and various destinations. So this exactly shows how Epsilon can fit into a customer's transforming journey when they are on their path to phase out their legacy networks and move on to an Ethernet or an IP platform, or various new technologies. As you can see on the top, we can also find the public cloud providers that we have on the platform today, as well as the connected internet exchange providers that are already there on our community. And a customer in any geography, in any point where he has the multi-service port with Epsilon, he can go to any of these ecosystems or endpoints. When it comes to data centers, it is also worthy to note that our data centers are dispersed all around the world, covering countries from east to west, all important countries. What this means for a customer is it essentially, it's the power of one. So when we say the power of one, we are talking about the various benefits and the features the customer gets out of a single port, which is a multi-service port. So the first thing is the customer can activate a virtual connect service to any destination on the network. Whereas when you work with most of the traditional operators, you are very much restricted to within their ecosystem. But for us, we are able to extend the connection all the way to an enterprise location, deploy an SD-WAN socket. All of these are enterprise end-to-end solutions that Epsilon focuses on. And in terms of the contract terms, we have flexible contract terms, while some competition is on a strict, let's say 12-month lock-in terms. And with Epsilon, you have an added advantage where you're able to move around the port freely on our network based on your changing business needs. And this is an important, sore point for many customers. Most of them, they plan well in advance for their IT purchases, and let's say they have a business for an end customer, they deploy a cloud solution for a customer in in one part of the world, but the business may not be doing well, and let's say they want to disconnect, but they find another client in another part of the world. But most, if they're tied down with a contract, they're not able to move around their ports. But with Epsilon, all they have to do is just say, hey Epsilon, I have a port in this location, can you please move it to this particular country, from country A to country B? We can simply do it. All you have to do is just tell us where you want to go, right? You can go to the new location and you can start activating the clouds or destinations or anything. So this fits well with businesses. This shows the amount of flexibility that a customer gets with a multi-service port, so it doesn't have to worry about how to plan and organize his business forecast, because as we know, everybody's business cycles always change and the demands come in and go at the same all the time. As far as the various destinations, we offer a wide range of communities that we interconnect to, starting from data centers all around our network to cloud and going all the way to last mile locations, including legacy technologies as well as virtual POP services. Virtual POP services are quite famous in with customers who don't have a physical presence in a geography. They don't have their racks, they don't have their routers or switches, but they would like to interconnect with many multiple different clients in a particular data center. So we are able to deploy such virtual POP solutions also, through a common multi-service port of a customer. We are able to call off multiple client services to the customers. Whereas with the competition, there are most of them who are in this SDN space of, let's say, software-defined networking. They're very much restricted to data centers predominantly, as well as cloud, and a little bit of remote peering here and there. But nobody is able to cover the breadth that Epsilon has to offer, which bridges from last miles all the way to the cloud and the data center stack. So the simplest way to network greatness, what we feel as a customer should be benefiting out of a simple interconnect business with a provider is he should achieve automation to a great scale. The complexity for a customer should be removed. Most importantly, the cost for a customer should be really on the lower side, meaning on a yearly basis the customer's cost KPI should be met. It should be also in line with what the public clouds and the other communities are driving the market towards, so that the customer doesn't get penalized by getting stuck with a wrong provider. So they know that they work with a network provider who is also talking the same language as the upstream providers, such as the clouds and the internet exchanges and etc etc. At the same time, the provider should have a growing reach, of global presence in important strategic locations, not just the developed countries, but the provider should also be having access to emerging markets, because the growth is really phenomenal in key developing and emerging markets such as Southeast Asia and Middle East and LATAM, and important parts of the world. At the same time, the customer should be able to embrace the journey of his organization strategy, such as cloud first or cloud only, network interconnect model. So if these are the various facets of how a customer approaches an interconnect model, and that is exactly what Epsilon recommends to a customer who is able to choose which provider you should go ahead with. We would like to showcase a use case of port portability and how exactly this can help an IT company that is able to meet its changing demands. Let's say an IT company has operations across Asia Pacific region, and for some reason they could find that their network demand in Hong Kong is declining, but they are able to find traction in new clients in Singapore who are connecting to various clouds or various exchanges or even data centers for various interconnect purposes. So such customers in a traditional model, they would have been forced to lock in with their contract in Hong Kong, but at the same time they would have been forced to buy new ports in Singapore to access clouds or other providers network. But in the case of Epsilon, they don't have to worry about changing businesses. In this case, the IT company, all they have to do is just inform Epsilon saying that, look, please disconnect my port in Hong Kong and move over to Singapore. So it's all managed part of the same one single contract that the customer has with Epsilon. So the customer can freely move the port from Hong Kong. He can move to Singapore. He can even move to Dubai, or he can move to any location that the customer likes, and he can just deploy it as if it was all part of one big fluid network, and he can start activating the services or virtual connects to any destinations from that point onwards. So this provides a high availability for the customer, and this is quite useful for a customer to quickly react to market changes, quickly enter new markets with less inhibition and limitations in terms of setup. Think about businesses, business implications. How much are we committing to in this new market? Are there any uncertainties? All these uncertainties are taken out of the IT network. So the customer solely can just focus on his businesses, and he can just worry about how these businesses can be built in a better manner, and leave out the complexities and remove the complexities out of a network without worrying too much about it. So what is exactly the Epsilon difference? In terms of the multi-connect, the multi-service port, Epsilon stands out in terms of its end-to-end support, in terms of setup and offering to a customer. From a solutions point of view, we deliver the service all the way to an enterprise branch office, which includes last miles, as well as we also enable a customer connection all the way to his third-party provider, including a data center cabling. So a customer doesn't need to worry whether he needs to have a working relationship with the data center provider in the B end. Let's say a customer connecting from Singapore to Dubai, he doesn't need to worry about his relationship with the data center provider in Dubai. So all of that is taken care of by Epsilon. So the customer just has a peace of mind. Cablings are included in our solutions. We're able to extend the service all the way up to last mile, not just in terms of pricing, but even in terms of service assurance and service support. Our service assurance extends for the entire solution the customer has contracted with Epsilon. Port portability is an important feature that we just covered, and a comprehensive ecosystem covering data centers, internet exchanges, and cloud providers globally, and most importantly in key emerging markets. That is a very good differentiator for us. And in terms of the carrier grade network that we have built, our network is able to scale up to 100 gig 100 Gbps traffic. And in certain markets, we've already launched our 100 gig port offerings, and customers are able to buy capacities all the way bandwidths up to 100 Gbps on our global network. And importantly, given our lineage from the carrier networking background, we have a great expertise in how we manage and build and operate networks. So the customer definitely is assured that he's working with the right experts in this industry. And to summarize, our ecosystem covers 600 plus connected carriers that we have, clouds and internet exchanges, 220 plus points of presence on a global scale, high availability of our network. Being a carrier grade provider and running a global network, we have 24/7 operations, and most importantly, we have a terabit scale of optical network around the world. This is a brief snapshot of our ecosystem. So last but not the least, while an organization cannot predict the future, it can certainly have its focus and peace of mind by being assured that it has chosen to work with the right network provider. And that is the most important thing for businesses to uh, be satisfied that they have chosen the right party, so that they can focus on what exactly their business imperatives are, rather than getting bogged down by how their network is not being able to meet their growing demands or changing demands.
Thank you, Prasanna. And with that, we have come to the end of the webinar. If you have any question about our multi-service port offering, feel free to submit your inquiry in the Q&A form on the right-hand corner of the web page. Alternatively, you can drop us a note at info@epsilontel.com. Thank you and have a good day.